Hey there, I'm Stan Baker, one of the hosts for CircleForum, along with Shelley Steele and Steve Young. And in this episode, we discuss research on student attendance through a restorative lens. Now, listening to this conversation again after recording it, I really enjoyed how practical and impactful restorative circles can be for school climate. And I think learning and understanding more about the research behind what works in student attendance is really important because it can help you intentionally build the school relational climate one circle at a time. Now, if you're currently dealing with high levels of student absenteeism, then this episode is for you because it helps you with some simple and practical suggestions. Some of the things that we're covering include supportive relationships build school climates and improve student attendance. And circles specifically help teach how to speak with others, how to listen to others, and how to respond with actions. At the end of this episode, be sure to visit our website, www.restorative.ca, where you can find free resources about circles, plus the links mentioned in the podcast. And if you enjoy this, make sure you subscribe on YouTube, CircleForum. And now let's head over to the discussion with Shelley, Steve, and me, Stan. So this is a great bit of research that says, guess what? There's a connection between school climate and attendance. The better the school climate, the better the attendance. What do you think?
I think we've heard that before.
You betcha.
It sounds very obvious. And much like the three of us and many of us like us, we all know that restorative practice is very obvious too. But the beauty of this article is that it's a very intensely researched article. There's a lot of methodology there. And if you're a statistician, you'll love it. But essentially, it's an empirical study to prove what we probably already know to be true. But it also breaks down very specifically what are the specific aspects of school climate that are important. And some of those relate very closely, very directly to restorative practices and the work that we're doing.
And it's a tier one approach, right? For students that are attending 90% or more. And it's really about improving the supportive relationships with students, between students, but also between students and staff.
It's an approach that's good for everyone. And although we're going to talk about attendance, this is not only about attendance when you're talking about tier one approaches. It's about the culture of the school, and lots of other things come with that as well. Positive.
And with restorative practice, it seems to me that circles are just natural to fit in here. And it's something that a lot of people already do. They have community circles, they have community meetings. And let's talk a little bit about how circles, restorative circles, can help bring about some of these positive relationships.
I'll relate it directly to one of the sentences, one of the observations was made in the article that says part of what makes a good school climate is when they're offering engrossing learning environments with increased exchange between teachers and students. Increasing that exchange, to me, relates directly to the use of circles. If you're running circles in your classrooms and you're running them well and you're running them often enough, you are increasing that exchange between students to students, but also the adults in the building as well are now talking to students in ways that are different than a regular classroom environment or what people perceive to be the traditional classroom environment. So circles plays a huge role in giving those opportunities for students and adults to talk about all sorts of issues, whether it's what they did on the weekend, or it could be something in the high school levels. It could be a social justice issue or bullying, racial disparities, or any of those issues that become very engrossing. That's the beauty of the circles. Leads to the classroom school climate.
Because when we move outside of the circle, what you're doing in the circle is teaching ways to communicate and ways to listen, ways to respond, ways to respect other people's opinions. And of course, that carries outside of the circle into the school culture, so that it's not just about in that moment. That is the goal, that it would you teaching other skills. That's what our job is with youth.
And to me, a circle really gives me, as a teacher, a structure within which to have those kinds of conversations, because otherwise it just becomes, this is what I think, that's what I think. And we don't move beyond two positions. We really need like a third piece to this. And to me, restorative practice offers a way, a structure, even a process, even questions to help me move from here to there with my students and also with the connections that I have with them.
And that's what we've heard when we've done training is that people already have a restorative approach in their classroom, but having the restorative practice training gives them that structure to take the conversations in a different direction, or a guideline of how to understand what they're doing really truly has a purpose and is having impact on the students that they're participating with.
So, how could restorative practice help implement this kind of research?
Through the research and reading through the article, one of the areas it does talk about schools that have a strong school climate have a group of teachers or a committee or a group that works towards that. And whether it's that hopefully there's students involved in that committee as well. And so bringing them together in a restorative way, if they're having their committee meetings in circles, that kind of stuff, having classroom discussions about what are the things that what are school climate issues that kids perceive, and whether it's having more teams or clubs or whatever, using the restorative process, that fair process, to allow people to have input into how the school climate is created and moves forward. To me, you're building a school climate while you're creating the structures of what you want the school climate to be at the same time.
So, the simple thing to implement is have all of your committee meetings, your conversations with students, with staff, with parents in circles.
I think the aspect about find ways to foster and strengthen relationships across the school, that's one of the sentences, one of the quotes there. I think that's imperative. We've talked about relationships. Restorative practices is about relationships. And a lot of places out there, they're rebranding themselves as relationship-centered learning, going from restorative learning to relationship-centered learning, because they realize it's about building relationships. And this article is saying, when you strengthen those relationships between people in the school, adults, students, whoever, that affects the school climate in a positive way, which eventually affects attendance.
I wonder too also about drawing in that school climate surveys are done regularly, and they are a source of information for you in particular. And here's the way to address some of the pieces. And I like how Steve talks about looking at not just patting ourselves on the back for the 80% that are feeling great at school, to make sure that we're paying attention to the 20% that are not feeling connected at school as well.
Captain Obvious visits the school and finds through research that the better the school climate, the more likely students will attend. Thanks, Captain Obvious. This research is actually worth checking out, and I'd encourage you to consider circles as a way to continue work on school climate and then ultimately on student attendance. And you know what? This is something we can help you with through our Restorative Circle training. So email me, stan@restorative.ca. Check out our free resources, www.restorative.ca, and let's use circles to improve school climate and student attendance.